Well, week 5 was a bloodbath. So many injuries. Chances are you have someone or multiple someones you'd like to have on IR right now. Hopefully you have enough IR spots for all those players. The good news is while your redraft team is going to take 400 to 800 weeks to get back to full health, you get to pick whatever healthy guys you want when it comes to DFS. Let's go ahead and set those week 6 lineups. What is up? Welcome to Club Fantasy's DFS Academy. We are here to talk week 6 DFS, cash lineups, GPP, and big tournament lineups. I am your host, Ryan Weisse. I say it every week. I get to sit next to the smart kids in class, and they're here to give you all the information you need to construct some lineups this week. When it looks at those tournaments, we have Kelly Singh. Kelly in Phoenix, how are you this wonderful evening with the Chiefs leading just barely at halftime?
Doing pretty well. We were talking about a bad beat I had this week. I don't know if we want to talk about that later or not, but I am literally still in pain.
I'll tell you what. Let's quickly introduce Austin and let's talk about your bad beat. When it comes to the cash lineups, you know him as the author of the A-List at DFS Academy, the cash article here at Club Fantasy. Austin Amandolia, how are you doing on this wonderful Travis Kelce 7 catches, 102 yards at halftime evening?
I am very stressed because I am box score watching the football game tonight because it is game 4 of the NLDS, and I grew up in Georgia, so I'm an Atlanta Braves fan, and we are facing elimination tonight. So full disclosure, I have my MLB app up right now because I got to know what's going on. So if you see me react in live time, you'll get to know the outcome of the game, whether or not you're a baseball fan or not.
There you go. Hopefully you weren't waiting to watch the game till tomorrow, but I don't think that's how the world works anymore. All right, Kelly. Let's talk about it. Your man let you down last week. He let you down on some of your show picks, but he let you down way more importantly on underdog.
Oh my gosh. This underdog, we put it in the article in the recap. We said it on the show. Felt like money. Looks like money. But we're missing half a yard. Half a yard. Tua. It was one of those spicy bets. He only needed to throw 1 yard, so that doesn't count. Lamar Jackson needed 45.5 rushing yards and landed at 45 even. Marky Andrews, he crushed his receiving yards by 20. Stephon Diggs met the goal, did it. Patrick Queen, I knew he wasn't going to get 4 solo tackles, so I went lower, only got 2. Half a rushing yard by Lamar. Pain.
Let's talk about the courage of just throwing IDP in there. Because I'm afraid. I see all these IDP picks and I just scroll right by them.
Here's my secret. I've given this secret out before. I might have said it on this show too, but I only play players that I'm super familiar with on those. So I'm super familiar with the Ravens, both offense and defense. So I felt very good about that. I may do it again this week because it's actually 4.5 solo tackles.
There you go. I just love that you're like, I knew he wasn't getting it.
He's great. Fantastic. He's actually IDP on one of my leagues, but that's a lot of solo tackles.
I say it's not DFS, but Roquan Smith changed the way Patrick Queen needed to play for the Ravens. So solo tackles are not going to be a big part of his game. You're here to learn some other things. Just a reminder, folks, we don't only talk DFS, we also talk IDP, but we also let you play DFS with us. In the link description of this video, you will find the link to play with us on either DraftKings or FanDuel. Little $2 contest, but if you win, you get a little bit of money and you get your name announced on the show. We're getting so close weekly to filling both these contests. Thank goodness both sites now have auto resize, so people are getting paid regardless. But if we start filling these up, we can make them bigger. There's more money to win. More people get their name announced on the show, unless it's like this week and the same people just keep winning over and over again. But you're the one who's going to beat them. So join the damn contest. We're going to start off with answers to the test. This is last week's winning lineup. Last week's Millionaire Maker scored 255 points. They had Joe Burrow, stacked him with Jamar Chase. Spoiler alert. Joe Burrow, David Montgomery, Breece Hall, Jamar Chase, Jordan Addison, Adam Thielen, Dallas Goedert, Devon Achane, and the Jets defense. So I want to start by acknowledging that my host, in some way, shape, or form, did talk about starting David Montgomery, Breece Hall, and Devon Achane last week. So we had a little bit. We did not see this Cincinnati Bengals thing coming. Ja'Marr Chase, 55.2 points on DraftKings, 44.7 points on FanDuel. Austin, I'm going to start with you here. Are we able to trust the Bengals now, or was this a defense thing?
I am not yet ready to trust the Bengals in cash, with the exception of Ja'Marr Chase, because even if Joe Burrow doesn't get there, if Joe Burrow does 200 yards and 0 touchdowns, he probably peppered Ja'Marr Chase with targets in that span of time, right? 2 weeks ago, if you had Joe Burrow and Ja'Marr Chase, you probably weren't doing too well. But Ja'Marr Chase still got there because he got so many targets. Ended up with I think 17 fantasy points a couple weeks ago. So that was fine for your cash lineups. But this is just this is why I personally hate playing tournaments, because I knew logically, I was like, you know what? This is the week for Joe Burrow and Ja'Marr Chase, because nobody's going to want to play them, because I don't want to play them. And I still was like, I still can't press that button. I just don't trust them at this point. So you win some, you lose some, but moving forward, I'm still good with Ja'Marr Chase.
Okay. Now, Kelly, I'm going to just beat this Ja'Marr Chase drum. Is the insane target volume he saw the last 2 weeks a product of T. Higgins being hurt? Because T. Higgins says he's playing in week 6. So are you ready to just start throwing Ja'Marr Chase out there every which way?
I don't see it stopping, even if T. Higgins says he's playing in week 6. Coming off of a fractured rib or something is no joke. So I'm not exactly sure what that volume will entail. While we've seen crazy volume from Ja'Marr Chase, I feel like playing the Cardinals really opened up that for him. I will say the Cardinals are beat up. We lost another safety mid-game. So we're on our 4th safety at this point. But that was obviously the weak spot, and they exploited it to the fullest.
Yeah, I say, and not only are the Cardinals getting terribly beat up on defense, but now you got James Conner on the IR as well. So things taking a turn for the worse in Arizona. And I was going to start the show by being like, are we going to get back to picking on the Arizona Cardinals? Top of the class, players priced above $8,000. These are our picks for the slate breaker. I think that's an easy way to say it. Austin, I'm going to give it to you because Kelly likes the call. And you said it's a podcast exclusive, and we're picking on the Cardinals again. Austin.
Yeah, exactly. So we've got Puka Nacua. He is $8K on DraftKings and $7,800 on FanDuel. Cheaper on FanDuel this week. And I got to admit, I almost threw Cooper Kupp in here because I was like, yeah, my guy Cooper Kupp, he just comes back and gets 14 targets in his first game back. But I went with Puka Nacua just for the salary savings here. Cooper Kupp is at 94K, I think, on DraftKings, or 9K. He's at least 9+K on DraftKings. I could still see going for Cooper Kupp, but I'm trying to save a little bit of salary this week. So I like Puka. He's still got 11 targets, even with the return of Cooper Kupp. And Arizona, they're allowing the 7th most points to the receiver position. This feels like a nice matchup, like Kelly's saying. They've got some injury issues going on, and Puka's still being part of this offense. So we're good to go.
Yeah. Kelly, you're in agreement.
I am. I think that he's bringing still plenty of upside to the table, lots of opportunity happening. And when we look at rostership, he's not the highest out there. Surprise, surprise, it's Cooper Kupp. And I think that mid to high rostership is due to the fact that Cooper Kupp is back, but people are neglecting exactly what Austin shared with us. There's still plenty of what do they call that? By committee happening out there.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm finding that weird that there's Jordan Addison is rostered 20% of rosters. I just find that so bizarre. So when we look at Puka Nacua at 15% rostership, Cooper Kupp 20% rostership.
Yeah. I've heard smarter people than me call it arbitrage, where there is a very high-priced player on a team, but if you like that offense, you probably like the second player as much. So you guys are saying, Puka versus Cooper. You brought up Jordan Addison. I think KJ Osborne could be a very sneaky play this week. I have a question for both of you before we move on from the high-priced players, because I don't know if this is a first. It's probably not. But I was shocked, I tell you, when I saw Christian McCaffrey at $10,300. I'm trying not to curse as much. My goodness, what is happening? Is he playable in any lineup, or does this now make him a different play? Is this a get different kind of play because you're the only one dumb enough to spend $10,300 on a single player, Kelly?
It could be. I'm looking right now. 12% of rosters on DraftKings and
I don't remember if he's that
same
crazy
on
overpriced on
FanDuel.
DK, but I know FanDuel is. What did you say?
FanDuel,
Go ahead.
I want you to go, Kelly. What's his percentage on FanDuel?
I'm showing 12 also on FanDuel.
Okay, because I didn't know where I can't remember off the top of my head where he was priced on DraftKings, but when I was doing my rankings this week and saw 10-3 on FanDuel, I was like, you have to rank him, but like you can't make him one. Like, the value's not there.
12% of rosters is mid-range when we're looking at the competition that he's up against, because there are just, I wouldn't say better options, but less expensive options that might give you a similar result. So we're seeing like ETN and Joe Mixon projecting ownership much higher.
Yeah, and I like that. Again, I like to point out the things I've learned from this show, because hopefully when I've learned something, you folks have learned something. You guys really have harped on, Austin, you've done it in your article for years, 3 times their price. And so when you're looking at a running back who's 6,600, all of a sudden he only needs to score 20 fantasy points, whereas Christian McCaffrey's pushing 31. And I'm not saying he can't do it. He very obviously can. It's another tough defensive matchup this week, though. As a show, we learned maybe don't worry so much about the Browns defense when they have PJ Walker now playing quarterback, Austin.
Yeah, I think for cash games, I mean, I probably won't take that salary because I think there are more values at the running back position this week, but you could do it. And on FanDuel, where he's priced at 10 plus K, like he doesn't need, on FanDuel, you don't need 30 points as much. Like you don't need 3X on FanDuel most of the time. You can get away with 2X. Just because of the way like the scoring is different. Like you're not getting points bonuses for 100-yard games.
Oh, that's a good point.
It's not full PPR, but you're worried about touchdowns. And Christian McCaffrey, he scored a touchdown in 14 straight games. So I feel good. Like it's probably going to continue. Like I don't know when the streak is going to end. And like you said, Ryan, with them playing against a PJ Walker led Cleveland Browns team, they could end up with a bunch of short fields, which could just lead to him getting to the end zone pretty quickly. So you could still play him. I think there are better values elsewhere, but in cash, like, sure, why not? It's Christian McCaffrey. Like, yes, even though he's that expensive, like I could warrant it. I won't do it though.
Yeah, I don't even understand throwing PJ Walker out there, except that like you're worried your quarterback's going to get murdered by the 49ers defense, and so you just don't want to play that game. We're going to move on to band nerds. These are the $6,000 to $8,000 players, and we like to say that they spend a little bit too much time playing their instruments to make it to the top of the class. Kelly, I'm going to let you get us started here. You guys have a player in common on this one as well.
Yeah, of course. We do share someone in common here, and that is going to be where are we at? I already forgot where we're
at. Nerds, Raheem Mostert. Sorry.
It's Raheem Mostert.
I knew you were looking for the category, and I'm like, is she going to recover here? You didn't. Stuck the landing. But yeah, you're talking Raheem Mostert and band nerds right now.
Yes, we both have Raheem Mostert on our rosters, our lineup notes this week. I'm playing Raheem Mostert for the same reasons really that Austin's going to tell you about, but I threw in some stats for this week, and that happens to be he's tied for the league lead for 8 touchdowns 8 of them receiving, 7 of them rushing. And with a Chan injured, there's probably going to be more. And I just really thought we would see fewer managers going in on Raheem Mostert this week for some reason, just because I feel like there's a lot out there at this 6.4 on DraftKings price range, but that low buy-in is bringing in a high rostership of 15%, while on FanDuel, jack that up to 8.5K, only 4% of managers are playing Raheem Mostert on FanDuel, and that makes me really want to take advantage of that.
It's just so funny to me because right now Raheem Mostert, I believe, is the RB2 in fantasy. He is $2,300 less than Christian McCaffrey, but only 4% are willing to roster him. But Christian McCaffrey at 1/6 of your budget we're okay. You can tell I'm very bothered by this. This price is not for me. I can't handle it. Kelly, talk to me about DJ Moore.
I don't know why it is so different. I mean, I expect it typically to be about 1,500 different, maybe 2,000 different, and we're exceeding that. It's so weird to me, but I'm willing to pay up for a player like Raheem Mostert. I'm so distracted right now because my daughter just walked in from college for the week, and they're being extremely loud out there.
Well, it's not coming through your mic at all, but I'm sure it's distracting you.
Let me talk about DJ Moore for you, which I'm sure is more what you asked of me. DJ Moore is 6.5K on DraftKings and 8K on FanDuel. What I love here, again, more stats. He set some career highs this past week. He had 8 receptions and set a career high of 230 receiving yards and 3 receiving touchdowns. So this matchup could make the 3rd game in a row with more than 100 receiving yards and his 4th in a row with a touchdown.
Which is nuts.
I really am into these stats this week, statistical value.
Well, my personal favorite about these stats is like before he had his good season, this was a guy who could only score 4 touchdowns in a season. And now we're talking about him scoring 4 consecutive games of touchdowns. And then my favorite thing, Josh Hudson pointed this one out, that he was the only receiver to record a receiving yard for the Chicago Bears last week. He had 100% of the wide receiver work for the Bears. It's nuts, the difference we've seen out of DJ Moore in the Chicago offense. I love it. Austin, Kelly talked about Mostert. She left you some room to throw some things in there as well.
Yeah, the only thing I'd add about Raheem Mostert, I mean, we're just picking on the Carolina Panthers some more, like until they prove to me that they can stop the run game. I'm going to continue to pick on them. And like I said, there's no Devon A chance. So that's great. Also, Miami, 13.5-point favorites. They're nearly 2 touchdown favorites in this game. They're going to be running the ball once they get ahead. And they have a 30-point implied team total. They're expected to score 30 points on Sunday. That is ridiculous. And I'm sure Mostert can collect at least one of those touchdowns. I love it on DraftKings. I'm even good with it on FanDuel. It's why I'm not paying up for Christian McCaffrey on FanDuel this week. So get you some Raheem Mostert.
Yeah, I love it. And just keep us rocking with another running back.
Yeah, so I like this price range for running backs this week, which is why I also have Alvin Kamara at $6,800 on DraftKings and $7,500 on FanDuel. So weirdly, he's more expensive on DraftKings than Raheem Mostert, but it's cheaper on FanDuel than Raheem Mostert. And I think this is just because of the PPR usage of Kamara. We saw him get like a ridiculous 13, 14 targets 2 weeks ago. That came back down to earth last week. He only got 3 catches, but regardless, he's gotten over 20 touches a week since returning from injury. Now, the Houston Texans, they stopped Atlanta from running the ball, much to my frustration, because the Bijan Robinson over was the only thing that didn't hit for me last week. But they still gave up a touchdown to Bijan. So I think that for the Texans, this was kind of an Atlanta specific game plan. Like teams know this is the best running offense in the league. So you got to come in and be prepared to stop the run. And so my thinking is that they're going to kind of return to their usual ways, that this was a one-off. And Kamara's just getting too many touches to not play him in cash. Like he's got the opportunities, and the price on DraftKings is way too low for someone getting that many touches.
Especially for 13 targets in his first game back. I mean,
yeah.
They got Kendry Miller a little bit more involved in week two of Kamara being back. But yeah, a lot of touches out there for him. We're going to move on to Bookworms. These are the $4,000 to $6,000 players, easily estimated, but they're sharp. Austin, keep us going.
Yeah, so my favorite player this week, and I know Ryan is going to love this because Ryan loves this player.
Revenge
We've got
game, baby.
Gardner Minshew, baby. This is the fun thing about the old DFS. Philly's just got another homer. Sorry. Jeez. Oh boy. This is the great thing about DFS. We get to play guys like Gardner Minshew, right? You're not going to play him in your redraft league, but if you're a fan of his game, you get to play him in DFS. He's only $5,000 on DraftKings this week and $6,500 on FanDuel. My guy, he needs to score like 15 points this week and we're good to go. And I feel good about it. He's looked good in this, and as the backup quarterback, he's made this offense continue to be competent. And I forget, who are they playing this week? Because I remember
Jacksonville. Jacksonville. I was going to say, I nerded out on this because I'm me and he's Gardner Minshew. And I went and looked in games in Jacksonville. Gardner Minshew averages 20.6 fantasy points. That is 6-point passing touchdowns. So knock it down a little bit when it comes to these DraftKings and FanDuel scoring. But you mentioned 15 points. He's good for 16 to 17 points at home in Jacksonville, where he should be the starter, because I don't like Trevor Lawrence. I mean, I do, but I love Gardner Minshew.
You're just trying to start nonsense.
I just want to fight.
No, but I love this matchup. I mean, Jacksonville, they've been like okay against quarterbacks, but honestly, the price is what's got it here for me. Like if at worst, like they'll be playing from behind, and he's going to have to throw the ball. But I also kind of like his passing over this week. So I'm good with it. The salary savings are what I'm looking for this week, and it really allows me to get creative with my lineup elsewhere.
Gotcha. And you had a tight end for us?
Yeah, good old Dallas Goedert. I
did
not believe
last week.
I know. I was watching that first drive last week. I was like, what is happening right now?
So clearly scripted to be the Dallas Goedert drive.
Yeah. But he gets a great matchup this week. The Jets are the worst team against tight ends right now, which feels like kind of snuck up on us. It wasn't that way a week or two ago. They've given up a lot to the tight end position recently. And Goedert had a down week one. He only got one target week one, but then since then he's been averaging nearly 7 targets per game, which, he's priced up a little bit. So like, I may not have him all over the place because there are some cheaper options that I like at tight end this week. Well, there's one option actually at tight end that's cheaper that I like this week, but he's a safe bet this week in a slate where we don't have Travis Kelce because he's playing right now. And Mark Andrews, like, it's been a little bit hit or miss. I'm good with Dallas Goedert this week at 4,800 on DraftKings and 62 on FanDuel.
Perfect. And Kelly, I'm going to have you go in here, and you have graciously given us 3 players because I'm calling you out on one player. But I also just saw a pick you guys both have in common later on in the show, which also I agree with wholeheartedly. So go ahead and just talk about all 3 of these guys. Let's start with Sam LaPorta, though, because the reason I was telling Kelly I'm worried is Sam LaPorta popped up. I didn't even see what the injury was, but he popped up with a questionable tag, and everything I'm reading makes it sound not good that he plays this week. So
I actually did not even see that. I just wrote my article yesterday afternoon, and none of this came up for me. So
this was this afternoon at like 2:00 it happened.
Well, I was gonna talk about Sam LaPorta because following his week 5 performance, he became the 3rd rookie tight end in NFL history with 25 catches or more in their first 5 career games. And he's leading all tight ends in the league with 289 receiving yards. So I was all over that again this week. His salary has only crept up slightly. So it was a great play, but we'll make a shift and talk
Keep an eye on it. And you guys have such a great pivot play later on. So stay tuned because they have a really good play that I'm all aboard on. But Kelly, you have some other great.
Well, yeah. I mean, if we want to talk about people you don't have to worry about playing this next week, we have rookie on the Cardinals, Emari Demercado, who came out guns blazing on Sunday once James Conner went out, scored his first career touchdown, gave us double-digit fantasy points, roughly 12-ish if you were paying attention there. This week, he's got around 4% rostership. I would say it's very manageable. 4.9K on DraftKings, 5.9K on FanDuel, a little higher than I expected it to be.
That's what I was going to say for a guy who nobody knew 7 days ago. They really caught on to his salary pretty quickly.
I think it's because it's going to be a safety blanket position, although Keontae Ingram is back supposedly this week. So we'll have to see how that all plays out. But I still feel like it's fairly manageable for most rosters. The one I really like, we've been talking a lot of stats. I'm leaning into a lot of things I get from NFL communications this week. I just wanted to take a look at some of these stats. But statistical probability, if you enjoy that game, Tyler Lockett is an away player. He loves it on the road, apparently. 5 receiving touchdowns in his past 5 road games. This could be his 4th game in a row on the road with more than 50 receiving yards. And he's got mid to high rostership, so other people are on this train too. But at this salary and what we expect from Tyler Lockett, I think it's a lock.
Ooh, I like it. And the Bengals have been pretty middle of the road against wide receivers this season. So I think there's definitely some room there. I mean, they've actually been decent, but I think there's room there where you're going to see them focus on DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, clearly, who loves playing on the road to get loose. Guys, if you're loving this lineup advice or if you're hating it and you just want to show how much smarter you are than us, just a reminder, you can find links in the description of this video to play with us on FanDuel, DraftKings. You can also find them in Austin's article on Friday, Kelly's article on Saturday. They're all over the place. We want you guys to come play with us. Fans have taken down one of these contests, I think, every week but one. Otherwise, it's been like one of our writers. But you guys can jump in here and show us that you're better than us. Like, you want to hear your name live on air. Let's get to it. My favorite category, as always, the Ryan Weisse category. C's get degrees. These are the punt plays of the week. These are the players less than 4K, typically on DraftKings, less than 4K. Sometimes on FanDuel. Well, I think FanDuel stops at 4K, so certainly not on FanDuel. But regardless, these are the cheap plays of the week. Kelly, I'm going to let you get us started because you guys have a player in common here, and then Austin's throwing in a defense for us. This was the pivot play. If you want to build your lineup around Sam LaPorta, you can certainly afford to move to Logan Thomas.
You can. This was the only player that I came across in my research that I felt good sharing in this price range, less than 4K. We're looking at 3.5K on DraftKings and more on FanDuel at 5.4K, but still very manageable. What I liked about this is the Commanders are facing a very poor defense this week against tight ends. So this makes for a great opportunity. I definitely think Sam Howell will take advantage of that this week. And last week, Logan Thomas led the team with 9 receptions, 77 yards, and a touchdown. So I like this play at this price for sure.
Our buddy who covers waivers on the Monday show, Mark, called him Travis Kelce East, and I just love every bit of that in that Eric Bieniemy offense. And Austin, you agree with Logan Thomas, and as a Falcons fan, you know why you agree with Logan Thomas.
Oh yeah, I mean, every week I just tell you the Falcons cannot defend the middle of the field, so just have a blast all opposing tight ends, and it's continuing to work out. Dalton Schultz got in the end zone last week. Christian Kirk ate us up 2 weeks ago. So, you know, I got to get something good out of my Falcons, even if we're going to not use our top overall picks to my liking. So we're picking on them again with the Logan Thomas pick. And that's it. Atlanta linebackers have yet to fail me.
Well, you guys have been so great about statistics. I'll throw one out here. Kelly, you mentioned the receptions, 11 targets for Logan Thomas last week, tied for the most by any tight end on the season so far. So Logan Thomas at 31 years old, converted quarterback playing tight end. He's kind of being written off by the fantasy community, but he's holding it down in that Eric Bieniemy offense. And then Austin, I got to give you some credit here because I was doing my streams of the week article this morning, and I had your pick as my number 2 pick behind my stream of the week. And I said, no, I can't do that based on what I've seen of them. And I moved him down. I didn't take him off the list completely, but I think I moved him all the way down to my 5th option. So you think the New England Patriots might be a play this week? Because I'm scared.
So I think so in cash. I mean, part of this is they're so cheap, right? Like there's not a lot of defenses that you can afford this week. My favorite defense of the week is the Buffalo Bills, but they play Monday night. Like that's going to be.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say. Well, I thought they were the high priced one, but no, yeah, they're not even on the main slate.
Yeah, they're not even on the slate. But here's the thing. I have got to believe I'm like in the revenge narrative right now. Some of it's Josh McDaniel, but some of it is actually like the Patriots. They need to come out and be like, we don't suck.
If the Patriots don't do something on offense this week, there may be mutinies.
Yeah, that's fair. Also, though, this is also about the matchup because, okay, yeah, sure. The Raiders beat the Packers, whatever. Jordan Love couldn't throw the ball. But they only scored 17 points against the Packers defense. Packers got a decent defense. I think the Patriots also have a decent defense. They also turned the ball over and gave up 3 sacks to the Packers. So I'm like, that's kind of what I'm looking for when I'm looking at defensive matchups. Are you going to get sacks? Are you going to have chances for turnovers? And the Patriots, they can do that. They can put pressure on Jimmy Garoppolo. Garoppolo isn't really a evasive quarterback, I would say. He's kind of takes the hit, takes it on the chin type of guy. And the Raiders can't run the ball like at all. It has been gross, their rushing offense. Like Josh Jacobs has had more negative yardage gains than I ever expected to happen this year. So I'm betting on a low scoring game and that the Patriots will have a chance to get some sacks and maybe Garoppolo will try and do his thing and force one in there and throw an interception.
Yeah. And while Austin won't toot his own horn, I'm trying to check the accuracy of my numbers here. But last I checked, Austin, you were like top 20, top 30 on ranking fantasy defenses on Fantasy Pros contest. So the kid knows his defense and special teams, folks. Keep an eye out for that. So I like the Patriots a little bit better. I feel better about at least having them on my list. We're getting close to the end of the show, folks. We always like to give you a little bit of prop bet action. We call it Prop Quiz, brought to you by BetStamp. BetStamp funnels all of your betting and DFS into one place to help you get the best bang for your bets. There's another link in the description of our video that'll help you sign up and see what sportsbooks and DFS sites are available in your state. Plus, they're going to help you secure any of the deposit matches that those sites are offering you. You'll be making money in no time. They're going to let you do prop bets, and my people are going to hook you up with some prop bet action. Kelly, you're blank. Are we skipping it this week, or are you just giving me no notes? Okay.
I just didn't type in my notes. I did take photographs, so I will read, and I'll add them in.
Yeah, just have them for the article, but tell the people.
Yeah, so I made a mixture of Ravens and Seahawks on underdog pick'ems this week. We've got a spicy bet, which we found out is only available on iPhone, apparently. But it's Mark Andrews with half a rushing or receiving touchdown. So I feel good about that one.
It just occurred to me, I have an iPad. I can sign up for these things and take these bets. Oh, my goodness.
The spicy ones are always very good. Geno Smith, I'm going with lower than 253.5 passing and rushing yards. It felt a little high. Gus Edwards, higher than 41.5 rushing yards. Tyler Lockett, we're going with our statistical probability.
Obviously.
I'm going with higher than 51.5 receiving yards this week. Kenneth Walker III, higher than 15.5 rushing attempts. He has safely done 17, 18, and 19 rushing attempts, so I felt pretty darn good about that.
I like it. I might go look for I might play your statistical probability game. I might go look for a Lockett above like 53 and a touchdown. See what that parlays out to. That could be fun. I might go take a look at that one. All right, Austin, you were.
Oh, wait.
Oh, there's more. But wait.
DraftKings 10-leg parlay. I don't know that I need to go through every single line of it, but it's very fun because it's a quarterback and a receiver.
We're making great time. Run through your 10. Let's hear them.
Okay. Tua, 250 plus passing yards to Tyreek Hill for 60 plus receiving yards. Jalen Hurts.
Such a small number. That's insane.
So all of the receivers, they just need 60 or more yards. And they're all good. Jalen Hurts, more than 200 passing yards to A.J. Brown. They don't have to be two A.J. Brown.
Yeah, no, I get you. So A.J. Brown has to hit the 60 number.
A.J. Brown needs to hit 60 receiving yards. Joe Burrow, 225 passing yards. Jamar Chase, 60. Matthew Stafford, 225 passing yards. Cooper Kupp, 60 plus. Justin Fields, 200 passing yards. DJ Moore, 60 plus.
And what's the money on this?
It is plus.
That'd be nice.
1,041. Not as nice as I thought it would be.
Yeah, that'd be higher.
But you're still looking at like $117 or something like that.
Yeah, that's
on a $10 bet.
It's a fun bet. Exactly. No, I like that a lot. That's actually a fun bet. Did you build that, or was that something like you can go in and like play something like that?
I found it in the quick
the quick bet section.
The quick bets, but I took a picture of it so that I could rebuild it later because sometimes they're hard to find again.
Oh, that's really cool. All right, Austin, you're continuing to crush it. 5 of 6 last week.
I know. I'm so nervous. I'm like, 1 week is I'm gonna miss all of them. Just because that's how regression works. Last week went 5 of 6. Again, it was only Bijan Robinson that didn't hit the over, which killed me. I was so mad about that.
So you guys both had bad beats on favorite players last week.
Yeah. But we did have that does bring us to 72% on the year, which is pretty good. And I'm liking the picks that we have for this year.
Pretty good is an understatement, folks. 72% in the betting world is a statistical anomaly. So.
Yeah, if we're 17 weeks in and I'm hitting 72%, we're gonna need to talk about get me a pay raise or something.
Yeah, there's profitability.
Anyway, so I'm going back to Lamar Jackson over on his passing yards. It's at 224.5 on both Underdog and Thrive Fantasy. Remember, you can find Thrive Fantasy in 23 states using that link in the description for BetStamp. Lamar Jackson going up against the Titans. Pass funnel defense. Love this matchup. Taking Derek Carr under 215.5 pass yards. This is only on Underdog. They have not put Derek Carr's lineup on Thrive, which is very peculiar to me. So I'm liking the under here because I just don't think that this offense can do anything. Drake London over 44.5 receiving yards, both on Underdog and Thrive. The Commanders have not been great against receivers, and Drake London has been getting targets recently. I'm like,
DJ Moore.
Exactly. Gardner Minshew over 226.5 passing yards, also on Underdog and Thrive. This has been moving up slowly but steadily. It started at like 220. It's now up to 226. So I'm liking the direction this is going. Here's one where you might think I'm off the rockers. Jalen Hurts under 43.5 rushing yards on Underdog. As of this recording, it was still at 44.5 on Thrive. So I like it a little bit better on Thrive. If I told you that since the start of 2022, he has hit the under of this 61% of the time, would you believe me? Because it's true.
That's nuts. I think we have this picture in our head of what Jalen Hurts is, but I think a lot of that was built on information from his rookie year. So
yeah, and honestly, like a lot of his rushing ability is like touchdowns. Like he gets a lot of rushing touchdowns, and that's where the fantasy production comes with his legs. But as far as yardage goes, he'll have these big pop-off weeks, but most of the time he's like running for like 20, 30 yards. Next, we already talked about Logan Thomas taking the over. Once again, Falcons can't defend the middle of the field. Over 36.5 receiving yards on Underdog and Thrive. And I gave one pick that was just exclusive to Thrive.
This is hilarious.
That you need to go to the app. Mac Jones under 32.5 yards, longest completion.
See, Thrive wasn't doing those kind of bets when I used to play on Thrive. That's a fun one. So.
It started at 33.5. Now, I did check. Mac Jones has done this twice this year.
Okay.
Out of 5 games. I like those odds.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie. At first, I thought it was 32.5 yards. I was like, that's probably still a good under bet because he's probably not going to finish this game. So
that's how I read it too. Okay.
I was like, he sucks. And 32 yards is still probably too high. All right, guys, we are winding down the show. It is the Valedictorian Shootout where Austin and Kelly are going to give you head-to-head lineups that they can play on DraftKings. Sometimes they play it against you guys. Sometimes they don't. Austin won last week. He's 4-1. It's not a surprise because Austin is the small contest guy. Kelly is the big contest girl. So right now, Austin's dominating, but I think Kelly can make a comeback. Kelly, I'm going to let you give your lineup first.
This is the week I make a comeback.
I love it.
Let's start with Justin Fields as my quarterback. I will go with Raheem Mostert at running back. Kyren Williams at running back. DJ Moore, wide receiver. Puka Nacua, wide receiver. And now you know I've spent a whole bunch of money.
I was just going to say, do you have any players left?
I am going to pick Madison, running back, Alexander Madison. I am picking Jonathan Mingo as my other wide receiver. And I am picking Logan Thomas as my tight end. Sorry, Madison was in my flex spot.
Yeah, I knew what you meant, but which scraping the bottom defense did you manage to fit in here?
You know what? I actually wrote about this defense this week. I feel pretty okay about the Patriots versus Las Vegas.
Hey, so does Austin. That worked out really, really well.
You can find that in my article this week and why I feel okay about it on DraftKings because I don't want to pay up for Miami. So, which was my other defensive pick.
All right. And Austin, go ahead, buddy.
Yeah. So we actually, we're going to have a lot of overlap, which is kind of fun. So my quarterback is Gardner Minshew, 5K. Already alluded to this. Very excited about it. I've gone with the 3 running back build once again. I've also got Kyren Williams at 65K and Raheem Mostert at 64K. My third running back is none other than DeAndre Swift at 61K. My receivers we're trusting Jamar Chase at 83K. Christian Kirk at 54K. No Zay Jones. He's been doing better when Zay Jones is not in the lineup. Going Drake London at 48K. We've got Dallas Goedert as our tight end, also at 48K. And I also have the New England Patriots defense at 2,600.
So 2 things that this has brought up to me that I wanted to bring up to our listening audience. When you're playing in these small contests, this is something, again, I've learned from listening to these guys, but this one I've picked up quite a bit over time, is you're going to run into situations like this where you're going to have 5 players in common. I don't know if they have 5 exactly, but they have a lot of players in common. That's the point of these small contests is let's have 5 players in common, and then can my other 5 or whatever beat yours? And that's kind of what you're going for when you do these. So don't be afraid to pick the chalk picks. However, I want to bring up our good friend Rachel, who asked a question to us, I believe publicly. She asked it right out on Twitter, but I thought it was such a good question because we all kind of gave a very similar answer because I feel like I build lineups the way you guys build lineups because I listen to you. But she asked, when you get to the end of your lineup, and specifically probably in cash, I guess it goes for GPP as well, Kelly, so I'll let you take it from that angle. But if you have a lot of money left over, let's just say $500 to $1,000. Do you feel weird? Do you feel like you need to spend it? I gave the answer, and you guys can correct me or say if you do something different. I gave the answer that I typically start off with a cheap tight end and a cheap defense. So if I have any money left over, I go check those 2 positions and see if there's someone I can now afford to pay up for that I liked better than my cheap guy. So like when I start my lineup building this week, I'm probably going to throw Logan Thomas right in at tight end. It's going to be hard for me to pivot off of Logan because I'm super into him. But if I have like $1,000 left over and that gets me up to Goedert going up against the Jets, maybe I make that pivot. So Austin, on the small contest, I feel like you and I have discussed this before. I don't think you have a big issue with having money left over.
I don't. I mean, I want to max out as much as possible, but I'm not gonna create a bad lineup or make poor roster construction decisions just to max out my salary. So if I have like 500 left over, that's fine. If I'm getting closer to 1,000, then I'm gonna like think about it a little bit more and play around. But what I don't want to do is I don't want to leave too much money on the table in these main slates where like there's a lot of variance inherently. Like there's so many players you can pick from that you can get a bunch of different lineups while still maxing out your salary. The only time that I really think about like how much salary I'm capping out is when I do showdown slates. I intentionally leave more than $1,000 of budget
Oh, wow.
on
To
my
make sure
showdown
you're
slates.
building a different lineup than everybody else.
Right, because everybody else is going to want to max out that salary, which actually consolidates the players you can pick. Because if you're saying like, I want Travis Kelce as my captain, and I'm going to max out my lineup, well, you're probably getting Patrick Mahomes, Isaiah Pacheco in there, and then there's only like a minimal number of options that can get you to max out your salary. So that's like how I think about it. But usually on the main slate, I don't have to worry about it too much because I'm like, my bigger problem is how do I get under the salary than it is like how do I get up? Like, how do I use this last like $5,000 to $1,000 of salary?
And Kelly, I was going to say, I feel like what he just said, that's what it means for me in the bigger contest too, is normally I end up over and have to figure out where I'm going to make my cuts. But if you do throw your lineup, Kelly, into the Millie Maker and all of a sudden you have, $400 or $500, does your heart start to race like I need to spend that money, or is it okay just to move on from there?
Similarly to Austin, if it's like 500 or less, I'm not stressing about it. As it gets, like he mentioned, closer to 1,000, that feels like a lot of money left on the table. And I may go back and just see if I've missed something, is what I said to Rachel, because I sometimes get so like tunnel vision on who I want to target that maybe I didn't take a good look at everybody available within that price range. So if there is more money, I just kind of go back and take a second look. Different from you, I don't cheap out on tight ends. I will.
Well, no, because you love Mark Andrews and Sam LaPorta. You can't afford to cheap out on tight end.
Hey, Sam LaPorta is very manageable still.
He really is. Yeah.
But I find that it's just a very high value position for me. I've just found that, and I enjoy playing tight end. So that's a position that I play. I'll do my defense. I look for a value. Maybe it's not the cheapest, but I like what the matchup looks like, what the data behind it is, and it costs less. I always try and spend in my head a certain amount on defense, and my flex is where I kind of like.
Yeah, with defense, my favorite thing is like when I throw New England in my lineup and then I have money left over and it's like, oh, I can afford Philadelphia. Like, it makes me so happy when that happens.
Yeah, surprise.
Yeah, guys, we have reached the end of the show. As a reminder, you can join the class. You can play with us on DraftKings, FanDuel, links in the description. Last week, OTA top Troy takes down DraftKings. This is his third or her third win of the season, 183 DraftKings points. And our buddy Joel Worth, J-Dubs 1035, won the FanDuel contest with 149.02. This is his second time taking down the contest. And if you guys think you can do better, please come show us. You can find all of our content at clubfantasyffl.com, DFS articles, start sit articles, streams of the week articles, wide receiver versus corner matchups from Queen Roxanne. You need to be checking that article out. Play that in conjunction with some of the advice these folks are giving you. Kelly, remind everybody where they can find your DFS work or otherwise, because I know you do that great Arizona Cardinals podcast.
I do. The Sick Podcast with Kelly Singh. It's a podcast network with many shows across the nation. Just follow me on the app formerly known as Twitter at Kelly in Phoenix, and you'll find all of my work.
Yeah, perfect. Austin?
Yeah, you can find all my work at clubfantasyffl.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Austin_FFL. And if you're watching this and Atlanta lost last night, you might want to do a little bit of a wellness check on Twitter. Just hit me out, make sure everything is going okay over there. Might need to take the day off or something, just to give myself a little time to recover from another NLDS loss. But no, that's where you can find me.
Perfect. And you can follow Club Fantasy on all the socials at Club Fantasy FFL. Website is clubfantasyffl.com. And if you are watching us on YouTube, first and foremost, thank you. Second and foremost, please hit that subscribe button. It costs you nothing, but it means the world to us. And just a reminder, if you're pouring one out this week for Justin Jefferson, Devon Achane, James Conner, Anthony Richardson, and so many more names that I kept forgetting to mention that are hurt or went to the IR, DFS is still going to be there for you, healthy and ready to let you set a new lineup. We'll see you guys at the next lesson.